And we are live.
Thank you, Rochelle. The time is 9 a.m. and I am calling this meeting to order. Good morning. I am Jessie Shen with Planning and Environmental Review. I will be serving as today's hearing officer. Rochelle Rolanka will be serving as Zoning Administrator, Secretary, and Timekeeper. This is the Sacramento County Zoning Administrator hearing for February 16th, 2022. This hearing is being recorded. I will now read the announcement. In compliance with the directives of the County, State, and Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When I open public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, you will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. To appeal a decision, the decisions made here may be appealed within 10 days to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the fee is $3,935. Clerk, could you please administer the oath?
Please raise your right hand and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this committee is the truth? So help you God. If you do not swear, do you so affirm?
Affirmed.
Thank you.
Okay. Clerk, could you please call the first item?
Item 1 is Zoning Administration Hearing Officer to consider approval of the February 2, 2022 Action Summary.
I have reviewed and approved the minutes from the February 2nd, 2022 Zoning Administrator hearing. Clerk, can you call the second item, please?
Certainly. Item 2 is PLMP 2021-00109 Dufresne Ranch Setback Deviation. It's located at 12999 Jackson Highway in the Consumers Community. The request is for a special development permit and design review.
All right, thank you. This item will be presented by myself and Nate Doberneck, current planning. Next slide, please. Overall, the Dufresne Ranch is down in the Consumnes community, right there bordering Deer Creek. And in this image, looking east, you can see the Kiefer landfill. That'll become important in a few moments. 64 acres, the ranch, farmhouse, and active farming on that project. Beautiful area. Next slide, please. The overall zoning is Ag 80, and the general plan being natural preserve. And to the north and east are the Kiefer buffer lands. And in the south, we have active row crops, and then the west also has some buffer lands. So essentially, the project is surrounded on three sides by Kiefer buffer lands. We'll get into that in a moment. That'll become important. Next slide, please. The history of the site goes back at least 80 years, some say 100 perhaps. It does predate the Kiefer landfill and all of the surrounding areas there. It is important to note that that yellow outline on the right represents the current parcel lines, even though that image is from 1937. Next, please. The property has been developed, as mentioned, for decades now, and north of that ribbon within the upper site plan, you see the little red boxes. Those represent pre-existing sheds, and that yellow line represents the current parcel line boundary. Below there is a detail indicating the placement of those outbuildings used for agricultural storage, sheds, that sort of thing. You can see the proximity to the parcel line. We'll explain why that is the case. And the next slide, please. 2004, the buffer lands was accomplished through lot purchases and lot splits, and that to provide as the name implies, a buffer from other development and to preserve the integrity and continued operation of the Kiefer landfill. That resulting lot lines created a nonconformity. The little sheds weren't really notified. You can see the scale of the buffer lands is quite vast, and that dashed line on the photograph there indicates that those parcel lines were drawn that created a situation where those outbuildings or sheds are now legally non-conforming as they are too close, that is, within the setback from the redrawn parcel lines. Even though the sheds were there first, the parcel lines moved up to get too close to the sheds, creating a non-conforming situation. Next slide, please. So to resolve this administratively, we needed to file paperwork, and that is a special development permit to allow these reduced setbacks for the sheds, technically known as incidental agricultural accessory structures. Highlighted in the chart there, you can see that the distances are, it should be 10. Shed number 1 is 4 foot. And then for shed number 2 and 3 in the rear setback, it's at 9 and 0, being right on fault line. So that if this is approved, it would allow the sheds to be essentially grandfathered in to remain as is, that is compliant. They could be maintained and repaired. They could not, however, be expanded any closer to the setbacks, as that would be an additional nonconformity. But it does allow them to be maintained and repaired for the future. The project did also require a design review, as all projects do, to comply with the countywide design guidelines. Next slide, please. So the advisory recommendations for this did go to the Consumnes Community Planning Advisory Council. There was 4 yeses to that with 3 absent. And then the Design Review Advisory Committee did meet, and they did recommend that the zoning administrator find the project in substantial compliance with the design guidelines. Next slide. So the staff recommendation is that the zoning administrator approve that special development permit. That would allow all 4 sheds to remain as is within those setbacks for incidental agricultural structures, and that the project is in substantial compliance with the design guidelines that apply countywide. Next slide. That does conclude the staff's presentation. This aerial image, you can see the overall working farm, and underneath that northern portion there where the address is, the sheds, you can see they're little small, but the other one there is slightly visible. Again, the parcel line outlined in yellow, Deer Creek running through it, and then the buffer lands again to the west, north, and east of the project site. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant, Dave Giradelli from Sacramento County Waste Management, is here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate, for your presentation. Clerk, are there any public comments on this item?
We currently do not have any public comments at the moment.
Great. Applicant, do you have anything to add to this, to the staff's presentation?
Nothing to add. I think Nate did a very good job of articulating the situation we find ourselves in, and it's been great to work with the planning group.
Great. Can you please confirm that you have read the staff report and conditions and are in agreement with them?
Yes, I have, and yes, I am.
Great. I believe staff, is there an edit to attachment 3 that you'd like to read into the record?
Thank you for that reminder. Yes. Attachment 3, there was a typo there. We should be listing the attachments in there as attachment for the site plan. And additionally, to call out that this project did receive the standard environmental review, as all projects do, and was deemed to be categorically exempt from further CEQA assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will go ahead and approve the project as described in the application request. The applicant has read the staff report and is agreeable to the conditions. Again, there is a 10-day appeal period for this action. This approval will become final after that period has lapsed unless an appeal is filed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clerk, could you please read the next agenda item?
Certainly. Item 3 is staff update.
Good morning. This is Chris Pahuli, Principal Planner. There's no staff update that we're prepared to provide to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Clerk, could you read item number 4, please?
Item 4 is zoning officer comments.
No comments at this time, thank you. And then clerk, could you read item number 5, please?
Item 5 is public comment.
Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We currently do not have any public comments at the moment.
Thank you. Okay, since all the agenda items are accounted for, it is now 9:11 a.m. and the meeting is now adjourned. The next zoning administrator meeting is scheduled for March 2nd, 2022. And that concludes this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.